history of Jews in India. The first Jews in India are believed to have settled on the Malabar coast around the middle of the 9th century BCE, some 2,800 years ago. After the death of King Solomon, 931 BC, Israel split into two kingdoms, Israel and Judah, ruled by rival kings for more than 200 years, until the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom and carried off most of the population. These are the lost tribes of Israel, and some of them are believed to have fled to India and settled on the Konkan coast and in Kerala. Jo Coyne, April 24, 2007, excerpt from her speech, Traders from the Middle East, the Jewish community in Calcutta. Of all the diaspora communities, the Jews of India are among the least known, but perhaps among the most interesting. This post introduces us to three of India's major historical Jewish communities. Bene Israel, a 2,800-year-old community settled mainly in and around Mumbai. Cochin Jews, an ancient 2,000-year-old community whose members have mostly immigrated to Israel, and Baghdadi Jews, a 300-year-old community based in Calcutta that originated from Jewish business people who came from Baghdad beginning in the 17th century. Judaism is one of the first foreign religions to arrive in India in history dating back to King Solomon's reign in 970 to 931 BCE. The population of Jews remaining in India is very small, but their cultural history is vast. The story of the Bene Israel, which is sons of Israel, ancestors, tells of members from the 10 lost tribes of Israel that escaped persecution from Greek ruler Antiochus Epiphanes in the year 175 BCE. They landed shipwrecked on the shores of Navgaon, now the site of a historic Bene Israel cemetery. They are the oldest and largest group of Indian Jews. Despite the loss of their holy books when they arrived in India, they persevered and continued to observe the Sabbath, celebrate the major festivals, circumcise their sons, and perform most of the prescribed offerings mentioned in the Bible. Settling in Konkan, the Bene Israelis learned the native Maratha language and adopted local customs. They took up oil pressing and became known as Shanwar Talis, Shabbat observing oilmen. To assimilate into the local culture, they gave themselves Hindu names similar to their biblical first names, but became known by their K-A-R surnames, which indicated the village in which they lived. For example, Navgoyan Ka came from the village of Navgayan. More than 100 village surnames can be found among members of the Bene Israel community today. Due to years of intermarriage between Jews and Indians and assimilation into the culture, the Jews began to resemble the Maratha people in appearance and customs. It wasn't until the 18th and 19th century that teachers from Baghdad and Cochin taught with mainstream Judaism. It was then that they were finally able to read the Torah and build their Jewish teachings and culture. In the mid-18th century, developments in transportation and opportunities for jobs in the army brought many Bene Israelis to Bombay. Under the rule of Governor Gerald R.G.R., Bombay was very tolerant of different religions and Jews were able to practice freely. The Bene Israelis were a strong driving force for the British Army at this time, known for their spirit and valor. Commander Samaja Hai Sajah Devka was a legendary Bene Israeli soldier who was captured while fighting for the British against the kingdoms of Mysore and South India. He was ordered to be executed by the king of Mysore, Tipu Sultan, when the king's mother miraculously intervened and argued that he was protected by the Quran as one of the chosen people and therefore should not be killed. Afterwards, Devka went on to build the first Bene Israeli synagogue in India. Built in 1796, the synagogue was named Shar, capital S-H-A-A-R, Harahamim, capital H-A-R-A-H-A-M-I-M, or Gate of Mercy. Bene Israeli were a large presence in Mumbai, known for excelling in the Army, Navy, and Air Force, as well as holding high positions in government. The first Bene Israeli school was built in 1875 by Samuel Haim Kihemba and was named Israelite School, although it was renamed in 1934 to Sir Ali Kadori School. Dr. E. Moses, a Bene Israeli, was mayor of Bombay in 1937. Bene Israeli also worked as doctors, lawyers, engineers, writers, educators, architects, and social workers. By the time of Indian independence in 1947, the Bene Israeli population stood at about 20,000. When Israel was established in 1948, however, this number dramatically dropped due to the high amount of immigration to the new state. The Bene Israeli community in India now lives primarily in Mumbai, with the population remaining in India only about 1,000. Here's an article on the immigration of Indian Jews in Israel, which I will put in this post, in this video. Cochin Jews, also known as the Kerala Jews, are a diverse group beginning with the so-called Black Jews, who are said to have settled on the Malabar coast during the times of King Solomon of Israel, arriving as sailors who came to India for trade. It is also said that many Jewish exiles fled to India following the destruction of the first temple during the siege of Jerusalem in 587 BCE. Records show that after the destruction of the second temple in 70 CE, thousands of Jewish settlers arrived in the ancient port of Kranganore near Cochin. They formed many small communities and coastal towns surrounding Cochin, speaking a Judeo-Malayalam tongue. Much later in the 15th century, Partisans, or white Jews, arrived from Western European countries such as Holland and Spain. They spoke the ancient Sephardic language of Ladino. In 1524, the Moors, capital M-O-O-R-S, backed by the ruler of Calcutta, Cochin Jews, attacked the Jews, believing they were tampering with the pepper trade. Most Jews fled to Cochin and went under the protection of the Hindu Raja, who granted them an area to create their own town, which later acquired the name Jewtown, by which it is still known today. Unfortunately for the Jews of Cochin, the Portuguese occupied Cochin in the same period and persecuted the Jews until the Dutch displaced them in 1660. The Dutch Protestants were tolerant and the Jews prospered. British influence then came to Cochin in 1795, and Cochin Jews once again lived peaceably. In 1891, there were 1,142 Jews living in Cochin. The vast majority of Cochin, capital C-O-C-H-I-N, Jews have since immigrated, intermarried, and converted. Today's population has withered to approximately 50. The vast majority of Cochin Jews have since immigrated, intermarried, and converted. Today's population has withered to approximately 50. That line I have repeated. The Baghdadi Jewish community consists of Jews who are descendants of immigrants from Baghdad, Iraq, and surrounding areas. The history of Jewish tradesmen from Baghdad traveling to India dates back to the 16th and 17th centuries. The city of Surat, present-day Gujarat, was previously a main commercial city in India and where many Baghdadi Jews originally settled. They operated many small businesses and became important figures in the Indian economy. The Sassoon family is a Baghdadi family known for their business activities as well as their contributions to India, including hospitals, schools, libraries, and monuments. The city of Calcutta, present-day Calcutta, was also a commercial hub that attracted many visitors, including Jews. It was previously the capital of British India, and many Jews would visit for trade. The first recorded Jew to settle in Calcutta was Shalom ben Aaron ben Obadiah Hakorn, who arrived on August 1st, 1798 from Aleppo, Syria. He had first visited Surat, where he met his business partner Jacob ben Sima ben Nissim and started establishing trade operations. Shalom Cohen was very successful in not only business but in establishing a thriving Baghdadi Jewish community in Calcutta. The wealthier Baghdadi Jews became more assimilated into British culture, speaking mainly in English and adopting British customs. In the late 19th century, many wealthy Baghdadis moved to England. Those who remained in India became more assimilated into Indian society as well as other Indian Jewish communities. In the 1940s, the number of Baghdadi Jews in India was 7,000. Today, that number has lessened dramatically to only about 50. The community in Calcutta is small but still thriving, with 3 synagogues, a cemetery, and the legendary bakery Nahum's. Here's an interesting Times of Indian article about Kolkata's 115-year-old Jewish bakery, Nahum and Sons. In December of 2020, Israel welcomed over 250 members of India's Bene Israel Jewish community to move to the Holy Land. And that ends this article on the history of Jews in India.